Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Federico Show. I'm Daniel Federico. That's Nick Tazio, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Italian soccer, Italy with a ginormous win just moments ago. Up to this recording, we're going to be talking about Hubert Davis getting fired from UNC, and we got some more stuff to talk about too. So here is the Daniel Federico Show. All right, guys. So we're going to kick off this show with the game that just happened moments ago. Italy defeats Northern Ireland to advance to the final of the playoff, where they're either going to be playing against Wales or Bosnia. Right now, they are in extra time. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. Right now, it's the 120th minute plus one. Oh my God. Are we going to see penalty kicks in this match?
I
So
can't. I hope so.
I
I
hope
think
so
we are,
too.
man.
I
My
want
dad's
Bosnia.
upstairs watching it right now.
What's
So
up?
me too. As an Italy fan, I don't want to play Wales. I would much rather play Bosnia.
But let's talk about this game that just happened.
But
Italy all over Northern Ireland right from the jump, finishing the game with 63% of the possession. But it was more than that. It was way more than that. That first half was flipped on one side. It was all Italy. And then the second half they finally broke through with a beautiful goal from Tonali. And then the second goal to put the nail in the coffin from a beautiful pass from Tonali to Keane to end it off
mhm.
2-0 win. They advanced to the finals that will be held next week. I'm pretty sure it's next Tuesday. What a performance.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, oh, okay. This is going to be a tough afternoon for the Italians just because they couldn't generate any offense. They were having chances, they were having opportunities, but it just didn't seem like it was going on target or it was just weak decisions. Is basically what I'm trying to say is the attack was not there for the most of the first half. Going into the second half, it started picking up the attack. That's what I really like from our strikers. They need to be on the ball. And we've seen this qualifying probably since the last 3-4 years. The striker, the guys up front for Italy are not the greatest. There's for sure a weak point into this team, but the midfield for Italy, it is stacked. It is beautiful. Saying if Italy advances to the World Cup, if they win next week, it's going to be hard for them to make it out of the group. I know it's going to be the group of Canada and stuff like that, but the style of play Italy plays, I'm going to say it right now, it's going to be very tough to see these guys make it out of the group stage in the World Cup. But talk about the game a little bit. What's your thoughts about the game?
Um, yeah, a little the same as you. I have some other thoughts as well. For the first half, I agree. Italy dominated the possession battle. If you had watched the game live for not even 15 minutes, you would see that Italy was controlling the game. And they tried to create chances in the first half, and most of them were crosses that were whipped in from the wings by either Politano or Federico DiMarco, who I believe DiMarco and Tonali to be the two best players of the game for Italy. And the strikers just couldn't get under them. I thought Moise Keane, I thought he played like he had the goal which redeemed his performance a lot. But besides that, I just thought that he wasn't getting under his shots well. I thought that he was um, he was kind of throwing a lot of chances away. His first chance, he completely skied the ball. It wasn't even close. But there were other times too, in the same fashion in which he scored, far post, kind of near the post and just dinking it in. He tried and then he would miss the post by a few inches. So I thought he should have had probably two goals himself. But
He
yeah,
looked
I mean,
clumsy at times, can't lie. He's
he did look clumsy at times, but I think there was a big revelation at the end. So I don't know if you noticed, but at the end they brought in Pio Esposito, who's a 19-year-old striker, and they brought him on for Retegui. Retegui had an unbelievable missed chance where essentially he had a breakaway with the ball, defender closing in behind him, but he messed it up because he was tapping it too far in front of him, and the goalkeeper just covered it up before he could even have a chance at shooting. So I believe you got to start Esposito. He's 19 years old. He's big. He almost created an assist in the not created an assist. I should probably say he had an assist. He almost did in the box, but a little bit like you, I just felt that we didn't get an accurate image of who this team can be at its best. I thought the defense for maybe as little of the chances that Northern Ireland had, I thought they played amazing. Bastoni was locking things down in the middle. So, yeah, I mean, we still have the hallmarks that make us famous. Like, our defense is still world class. I think our midfield is underrated in terms of speaking of the best midfields in the world. Gattuso played 5 midfielders today, but man, those strikers, it leaves something to be desired. That's what I have to say. But like the rest of our wing play, we were creating chances. So it's just about getting under them.
I think Italy's midfield is stacked.
It's stacked.
It is stacked. The team is great on paper. Don't get me wrong. This squad is pretty solid on paper, but we've seen this time year in and year out that they kind of they always start off slow. In the World Cup, you can't afford to start off slow, especially if they play Wales next week. If Wales ends up winning this game, it's going to penalty kicks right now. If Wales ends up winning, you can't start slow against Wales. It's going to be a great test, and whoever they play next week, hopefully it's Bosnia. But also another thing, what I'm liking from Italy low key a little bit is that they're trusting their young players little by little. But there's been a problem with the Italian development aspect in their international play. Has been letting their young players play. Letting that 19-year-old on the pitch today was beautiful. That was, I think, in the right direction. They need to keep it up. More younger guys in. The team's not old, but I'm talking about the teenagers. Let them rock. We've seen what the U20 team looks like and what the U17 team looks like for Italy. Tremendous squad. Tremendous players on those two teams, on the U20s and the U17s. We could even say that the U14s are looking good. So the future is going to be bright for Italian soccer. But if we're going to talk about Italian soccer, I'm going to start switching it to Italian football. The future is bright for Italian football, but it just depends on which manager wants to trust the young players. And that's what's been the cause of concern. Let these guys play. Like the last Euro Cup, I'm pretty sure El Shaarawy was still on the team. And that what stunned me last Euros. He was a reserve, a sub guy, but I'm pretty sure he came off the bench for 2 games. But that's an example that I'm using that Italy's been having a problem of not detaching themselves from these older aged players and bringing in these young teenagers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's mostly because like that generation of players rode out their careers into their old age because they were essentially Italy's golden generation. I do agree. I don't think there's as much of a willingness to play the younger players as there is for other countries. Say in particular the ones that come to mind, and Brazil, England, and Germany, even France. Spain too. I mean, Lamine Yamal, prime example. But yeah, I mean, I think this team is a good like if you add up everybody's age and then you have the average age, I think this team is in a good spot because they have some young stalwarts, players who are just entering their prime, like Riccardo Calafiori, even Gianluigi Donnarumma. It seems like he's 30 years old, but he's a very young player, and he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the world, depending on who you ask. Bastoni, these are all guys
what day of the week it is for him?
Pardon me?
on what type of day of the week it is for Donnarumma. That's who you can ask for him being the best goalkeeper in the world because he's had a lot of ups and downs in the last 2 years.
He has, but in the end, he is still the guy who was the best player for the best team at the Euros back in 2021 when Italy won
Yep.
and added another European championship to their repertoire of trophies. But yeah, I like this, especially if you insert guys like Esposito, even the two substitutions, I can't remember their names. Basile was one of them, and then the other one, I'm not sure. But the two substitutions at the end of the game, they were young players, and they were getting in the mix and trying to create chances. So I think the consensus age of this squad is in a healthy spot. Just inject a little bit more of the youth into areas of the game where it literally is most necessary. Like
They don't have to start. Just come off the bench.
no. Yes.
Let them get a part of the squad, especially if they're playing at such a high level with their clubs. There should be no they're trying to bring back Federico Chiesa. He was supposed to be in this squad today because he was at the camp, but then he left because he wasn't fit. Yeah, any Liverpool person, anybody in the world that watches the English Premier League can tell you this guy has not been fit since the Euros maybe 2 years ago when Italy won it. And just having him being selected on the team, I was like, how is that even possible? He plays 10 minutes a game and he doesn't even look good in those 10 minutes. The selection sometimes with this squad, the squad selection sometimes for Italy, especially even in the qualifiers, I want to say for the past 3 years, questionable, and it is crazy to me. And I think this squad that they had today, the starting 11, I really liked it. Playing five in the mid, I really liked it. I liked the style of play. I think it was very smooth at times too for Italy. Their style of play. Doing all the right things, lots of clean passes, pretty strong on the defense. I think obviously the striking has been the concern. I think Keane has really was clumsy at times with the ball. It looked like. Hopefully he can clean that one up. But for the most part, I really like the idea that they had of bringing the young guys on near the end of the game, and I think that's the best way to bring it because I could already see it. One of the 19-year-olds, maybe 20-year-olds, maybe even an 18-year-old is going to be a superstar to break out in the World Cup for Italy. I could just see it already. Remember, how old was Chiesa when he was with Italy in the Euros when they won it? 20? 21?
I want to say he was around 21, 22.
Yeah, I want to say that too. And he was a breakout star. He could have been even younger. No, I think 21, 22. I think you're right. But yeah, he was in his early 20s. He was a very young guy, and he became a breakout star in those Euros. And it never translated after that, after he got hurt going back to his club team. But I could totally see that happening if Italy ends up making it to the World Cup. And I know it's going to be, they have one more game left to play, a ginormous game to play on Tuesday. The penalty kicks are still going on. But yeah, I like the just inject a little bit of youth in the off the bench because it is a young team overall.
Oh yeah,
but just you could always go a little younger, and that could help you in the long run, especially when it comes to developing your own talent and maybe finally finding that strong grade A striker for the Italians.
Yeah, I think I agree. Just have a healthy mix of youth and experience. Because at the same time as you don't want guys who are, older guys who don't have the same reaction time and the same reflexes the younger players do, you can't be sending out younger players that don't have the experience that the older players do. So you got to find that relative blend. And I like, as a coach too, I like Gattuso. I think he managed the game well today. I liked his lineup. I liked how he played five players in the midfield. And I like when he brought Esposito on later on in the game when they were still looking for another goal to go up even more. I like that. That showed aggression and that showed, relentless pressure on the Northern Irish.
Yeah, I'm very pumped up. I think he did a tremendous job managing today too. But I just think how I want to say, just having the chance of missing their third straight World Cup is what absolutely aches me. Um, who was the team that they lost to the last World Cup qualifier?
North Macedonia.
Yeah, North. That was a heartbreaker for the Italians. But
I'm before that.
this
Out of
year,
Sweden.
yeah, and then today I'm watching Italy. I think it was just because it was a home game for the Italians. It felt a lot different in the air. Um, but at the same time, though, I think he did a great job managing the squad today. I think he keeps the five in the midfield for next week. Um, I think Donnarumma looks comfortable behind that defense. That's all you can ask for right now. But once it comes to selecting your team for the World Cup, if they do advance, it better be all 20 plus best in the world. And at least the squad that he selected this week better be there in June.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm like Bill Belichick. I'm just nervous about Tuesday. We're focused on either Wales or Bosnia. Just like you said, we're on to Cincinnati.
What do you think about that? What happens? What happens? What happens here if they do end up missing their third World Cup in a row? What do you think is the next approach here?
Well, number one, it would be a record because not defending, excuse me, no nation that has won a World Cup in the past has ever missed 3 consecutive tournaments. So they would make history, number one, for all the wrong reasons. What do I think would happen? Well, what it's so hard to say because the same issues have been plaguing them for all these years, and it's a psychological thing at this point. Like at this point right now, they just need to get into the tournament to know that they can do it again, to know that they can do it come 2030. Because as an Italy fan, even if they make the tournament, I'm not confident in them winning the whole thing, especially after France beat Brazil 2-1 today with only 10 men.
I want to even, yeah, that was crazy. I even want to take it back that I think I've lost so much trust in the Italians after that pathetic performance at the last Euros. That was pathetic all around. And then they kind of got my hopes up in these qualifiers. They started looking good. But every time, once my hopes comes back up, they end up losing it. But I gotta say though, if they don't make the World Cup, they keep the manager around. I think he's starting to really bring that passion back of Italian soccer or Italian football back. Oh my God, Bosnia won. Bosnia won. Italy, Bosnia.
Let's go. Finally.
Tuesday in penalty kicks, Bosnia beats Wales. Oh, I feel a lot good now. I feel real good right now.
Feels way better now.
Oh my God, I feel real good right now. You know what? Italy, come on.
Feels
This
good.
is a dream matchup. This is what they wanted.
Finally, we caught a break.
Hopefully,
we have a job to do on Tuesday. We can't underestimate them. I know that we are all on here. We're talking about Bosnia. We're not having Wales. This is a good thing.
But they just beat Wales, so that's like, oh my God, this team could be good.
This team, I watched the end of the Wales game, like the very last couple minutes of regulation, and they had a couple chances where they absolutely screwed themselves. So I don't know if this is Bosnia playing well as much as it is Wales playing down to their competition, but still, like, I'm going to take this with open arms, and I'm going to be watching on Tuesday.
I know Canada is going to be hoping that Bosnia wins that matchup on Tuesday because I don't think they want to play against the Italians on June 12th. But let's finish off one more segment. I think we got a point of view what happens here. If they do miss out on the World Cup for the third straight World Cup, keep the manager. I think he's on to something here. Yeah. I think he's injecting a little bit of youth. He is picking the best of the best. Some questionable calls, but I think that's going to be with every nation. And I'm also like, sometimes I like to start something from nothing. So that Federico Chiesa thing is for sure from nothing. But overall, he should not have been on the squad. He should have never been selected. I can't be the only one that agrees or disagrees with that. I just can't. But we do got to move on. Italy, Bosnia next Tuesday. Pretty sure that's I think a 1 o'clock, or I think maybe it's a 3 o'clock kickoff. I'm not 100% sure on Tuesday. Hopefully that I'll be able to watch it. That is going to be a tremendous game on Tuesday, but we do got to move on. Let's start off. The MLB has just started. Opening day, official opening day was today with a lot of matchups. Still a lot of games going on today. Last night, the Yankees kicked off their season. Aaron Judge 0 for 4 last night. He's looked bad. In the WBC, he looked bad. And now he started the season look bad. He has 161 more games. So we're not going to look too much into that. But we're going to go to Paul Skenes. A tough season debut for one of the best pitchers in the majors, if not for sure the best pitcher besides, let's compare him to Shohei Ohtani. When Shohei pitches for a full season, he's on notice. But Paul Skenes having a tough debut, giving up 5 earned, but 2 of the earned, I think it was 2 of the 3 that was earned, was O'Neal Cruz's fault. The center fielder, the first play over his head, terrible hustle. The second one, lost the ball in the sun, and boom, dropped right in front of him. Oh no, but Paul Skenes was having a tough time finding the strike zone. It was just terrible. Then he hits a batter. 37 pitches today. It took him to get yanked in the first inning. He only had 1 strikeout. Paul Skenes, Livy Dunn's not going to be happy with that performance. You got to play better. That was terrible, but also his run support or his defensive support really let him down today. Hopefully he can pick it up as the Mets absolutely dominated Pittsburgh 11-7. But you know what I'm very happy about? Bo Bichette. I'm pretty sure he went 0 for 3 today. He went 0 for 3. He had 4 at-bats. He got struck out 3 times. Yes! That's what you like to see from Bo Bichette in a New York Mets uniform. I was pumped up with it. A lot of good games. The Toronto Blue Jays they open up their season tomorrow, or actually, because this episode comes out on a Friday, their home opener is tonight. And I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
I saw some stuff on Twitter, but I'm not going to say his name. I'm actually a big fan of him, but I'm not going to say his name because this take that he had was terrible. The Toronto Blue Jays tomorrow are going to unveil their ALCS banner. His take was that is stupid. Why would people do that? Why are you celebrating the ALCS? And I don't know if you saw the take or not. Probably
I
have.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think that was such a terrible take. How is that stupid? They won the American League. In the way that they did it, and the fashion that the Toronto Blue Jays won the American League last year. And that run all the way to the World Series, and even their performance in the World Series, I am so glad that they are celebrating that banner tomorrow night against the Athletics at 7:07. I am absolutely pumped up. I'm excited for the season. I wish it ended on a, better note last year, but them celebrating the ALCS. Who is this? Getting a phone call. But them winning the ALCS last year is 100% you deserve of a banner, and 100% deserve to celebrate that because they were the best. out of the American League. What do you think about that? Them celebrating that banner?
I mean, it's only right. Everybody else is allowed to do it. Like in the NFL, you're allowed to put up a banner if you win the AFC or NFC championship game. No one says anything about that. I think this person knows what they're doing by saying this. That's first thing I'll say. But yeah, I mean, why would you not hang up your ALCS banner? You were the champions of the American League. It is a banner to hang up. Now, this is a different story if we're talking about something a little more minuscule. Maybe if you really want in 2026, in this day and age, if you want to make the argument that it is a little lackluster and useless to put up a banner for a division title.
Yeah, I will get that. I don't like that. You should never hang up a division winning banner. I think that's a little I think that makes your franchise look like a joke. I'm pretty sure the Colts did a banner one year before it got taken down. I forget what it was. I forget what it was called, but I'm pretty sure the Indianapolis Colts did an absolutely embarrassing banner. Let's see if I could actually Google this, 'cause I'm pretty sure. I think you've seen it too probably before that the Colts did. But I forget what it is. Colts embarrassing banner.
To me, man, like an ALCS banner
Got it.
represents an ALCS.
I got it. It was the 2014 AFC finalist banner. That was a real banner. That was a real banner inside of the stadium in Indianapolis. But now it actually is actually, I'm pretty sure it's at the Barstool office now. So that's pretty stellar. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
No worries. I was just going to say an ALCS banner. Sure, it's an ALCS banner, but it represents a World Series appearance. So do with that what you may. A World Series appearance in my books is 10 times bigger than an ALCS championship banner. That doesn't mean that you still shouldn't hang up the damn thing for the ALCS. You just got to learn how to read between the lines. I'm not going to say anything more because I will get in trouble. So there you go.
Yeah, but I totally agree. It is obviously the appearance in the World Series is a lot bigger than winning your conference or winning your league. But at the same time, though, it's a stat. You're champions of the American League. No other team was better than you in the American League, and especially the amount of rivalries that you have just within your division alone, and you had to go through the Yankees to get there. That's even better. So you put up that banner. You put up that banner with pride. I'm absolutely pumped up to watch the Toronto Blue Jays for game tomorrow night, 7:07 on Sportsnet. Kevin Gausman taking the mound. This is the season for the Toronto Blue Jays to go back to the World Series and hit it. I had 97 wins. You have 89 wins. Let's go in the middle here with 91 total wins for the Toronto Blue Jays this year between both of them. Let's go like that. Like 90 wins, 89, 90, 91. 97 is for sure a little heavy. 97's a little heavy for me, but yeah, I'm dialed in for the
100 wins.
161 wins, and their one loss coming in a 4-game series in the last game of the 4-game series against the Yankees. How about that? 161-1. But no, pumped up. Opening day weekend is always a great time, especially with some March Madness on tonight. We'll talk more about the March Madness on Sunday's episode, or Monday's episode, record Sunday. It's going to be a terrific weekend. But let's talk about it. As we're going into college basketball, let's talk about that. Who should we start about first? Who do you want to start with? Will Wade, or do you want to start?
Why don't we just do the Will Wade thing quickly? Because it's
okay.
The Hubert Davis story is pretty big.
Yeah, so Will Wade is returning to LSU after they fired him, but it was a messy firing the last time. I was pretty sure it was 2022, and it was the way that he got fired and the news that came out of his firing, it seemed like it was very messy. And then after 1 year at NC State with the Wolfpack, he is rejoining LSU. I like this hire. I like Will Wade. as a coach. I think he's obviously a little bit of a screwball sometimes, but um, just for his idea, why are you returning?
I to me, really, LSU? Like, you couldn't go and find anyone else? Like, you had to go back to the guy that was named in the corruption investigation and spearheaded by the FBI for corruption in college. You had to go back to that guy? Like, he went 20-14 this year. It's not like he did anything monumental. They went 20-14, and then they crashed out to Texas Tech in the first four. And then LSU announces the hire that it's some massive thing. I understand that he took that program, and LSU basketball is nothing in compared to LSU football or even LSU baseball. I know baseball is huge at LSU.
I would think to say the LSU women's basketball team, is better, is way better than the LSU men's basketball.
Completely overshadows the men, as they should, because they've been better. And Will Wade took this LSU program to new heights, won the SEC. I took them to the tournament a couple times.
Like, he's not a bad coach. He's just a bad person.
Well, yeah. I mean, he like you said before, he's a bit of a screwball. And he is somebody that, like, this is just as much of a gamble as it is for LSU as it was the first time over. Because now what are you looking to do if you're the Tigers? Well, you're looking to build on the foundation that he originally constructed. You're looking to build off that. So that SEC title, those tournament appearances. Now we're looking for consistent SEC contention, and we are also we're looking to win the SEC every year because suddenly the SEC is a damn good college basketball conference.
The Alabama, SEC is the only conference in the NCAA that matters according to, ESPN too. So you better win that conference each year.
There you go. And LSU is expecting Will Wade to contend with Nate Oates at Alabama, Steve Pearl at Auburn, your various other SEC powers that are going to be in contention. Texas looks damn good under Sean Miller. But Wade is also close with the governor of Louisiana, and given
corruption.
What's up?
Corruption.
Yeah.
Can you hear that by any chance? Oh, never mind. I just turned off. I don't know. My TV was playing some random ads. I don't know why. I don't even have that was corruption right there, as you know, especially as the governor of Louisiana. But go on. Sorry.
No worries. It's like the governor of Louisiana, we know him to be a character, and we know him to get involved with LSU athletics, hint Lane Kiffin. But does this present LSU as the preeminent villain of all college sports, given the way that Lane Kiffin goes to LSU, given who we know Will Wade to be, the fact that he's going back to LSU, the fact that LSU essentially poached him from NC State.
Yeah.
The Darth Vader of college sports.
I think so. I for sure think that they are the Darth Vader of the NCAA sports world, because first, Lane Kiffin, that situation, that saga was an absolute mess, but he brought it on himself. Yeah. Wade coming back after even being suspended in the 2019 tournament because how the all investigation all had started in 2019, and now he's back. I don't know if anybody can change within like 2-3 years, but especially what happened over there resulting in him to get fired. LSU, what are you guys doing? But at the same time, I just want to know what is going on over there in Louisiana to get all these crazy coaches to come and coach for their sports teams. Because first, Lane Kiffin, he was a sellout. We could say that, right? He was an absolute sellout to a program that he started to build in Ole Miss. And I'm not saying they would have won a national championship if he was there. Indiana was going to win it the whole time. But I'm so glad that Ole Miss won a game, or I think it was 2 games, in the tournament without Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin, it's so hard to like this guy. It's usually really hard, and it's really easy to like coaches just because, like, any coach that just speaks, I listen because I would like to know what their insight is. When Lane Kiffin speaks, I do not care one bit about this guy. This guy is a sellout. But now Wade coming back to lose the LSU athletic department is an absolute mess. They don't care about anything. I don't even think he's gonna. I don't think Wade is gonna bring LSU wins. He is a good coach, but at the same time, once you're a coach and you get stuck with a scandal, it is hard for you to bring players in because why would those players trust you? Hey, for Lane Kiffin also, why would players like high school recruits trust you to be their coach for all 4 years when you're probably just going to leave for a better opportunity? Because if the NFL ever came knocking on Lane Kiffin, he has taken that just like that. Well, Wade, it's a totally different thing. If a player is going to come play for him, it's going to be really tough because he's part of the scandal. So how can a player trust you to not be an idiot? How can you be a role model for these players and kids if you're an idiot? Lane Kiffin, how can you be a role model if you're a sellout to these kids? And it makes no sense. I honestly hope nothing but the worst for LSU athletics minus the LSU women's basketball team. I think that their coach over there, forget her name right now, but she does a tremendous job coaching those women basketball players over there in LSU. So I hope the success for them. Basketball program, hope you guys continue losing. Football program, I hope you guys suck. That's pretty much it. That's my rant on LSU.
Yeah, I think it's harder to find a bigger sellout or just liar and just serial, almost selfish person in college sports than Lane Kiffin. I think there's a genuine question to be asked if you're saying, like, if you're a high school recruit, like, how can you trust Lane Kiffin to be that? Like, he has shown that he goes from place to place. And I know a lot of people thought that he was finally happy in Oxford after numerous stops in the NCAA with the likes of USC and then the Tennessee fallout. And then he had the brief stint with the Raiders in the NFL, did nothing there. And then he coached Florida Atlantic. He coached FAU, had some success there, and then goes to Ole Miss, goes to the SEC. And then everybody thought, including myself, that he was finally happy. He was finally settled in, and he was committed on building this great juggernaut at Ole Miss. And he was well on his way there. But once the LSU opening happened, and I do believe LSU is one of those, handful of college brands, especially in football, that it is so transcendent that you do kind of have to take a second look at your own position to be like, man, like, shit, this is LSU we're talking here. I do believe that is the case, and that did have a bit of sway over him. But the fact of the matter is, the way he left, the situation he left and swapped to go to an inferior situation in its current state, and just his complete and utter, almost fake, like, appalling sense of it all, where he was he's like, well, why won't they let me continue to coach the rest of the season at Ole Miss? I don't know, man, because you've already signed on to be their school, to be Ole Miss's second biggest rival.
Yeah, like, just to be a sellout. I don't understand why he never. I don't understand why he didn't understand now. Like, he's an absolute idiot.
That is ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous to me. Like, LSU and Ole Miss hate each other, not as much as Ole Miss and Mississippi State, because those two are in-state rivals. But don't get it twisted. Ole Miss and LSU hate each other as is. Mm-hmm. Get ready for that game next season, ladies and gentlemen. Tune into that one, because I believe, is it LSU going back?
I think it's LSU. I think it's LSU going to Ole Miss.
I believe so too.
But I could be mistaken. Let me Google that.
Well, Lane Kiffin, regardless of what happens, and this is a whole conversation about Will Wade, so I'm going to go back to Will Wade here. Just dropped my phone, but Lane Kiffin, yeah, the LSU brand did have sway over him. Will Wade, I believe, was looking to go back to LSU. I think he wasn't necessarily satisfied at NC.
Yeah, it's an Ole Miss. Yeah, it's an Ole Miss next year.
Okay, so that's
September 19th. Get your popcorn ready.
That's going to be a marquee matchup. But yeah, Will Wade going to LSU. I guess I like it in terms of a basketball perspective because he has shown to be a pretty good rebuilder of programs. I mean, prior to NC State, he was McNeese's head coach for 2 years. And then essentially his philosophy of basketball is the reason why we all love McNeese and we all cherish them when they come
Yeah,
back.
he's a great coach, great leader,
He's a good
but
coach.
he's going back to the same school where he had a scandal at, and they fed him. That was a messy, messy year for him. I just don't like. Trust me, if he gets the players, there should be no reason why LSU doesn't go to the dance and goes deep in the dance. But I think it's a normal thing to just be cautious of is these players coming in, can they trust them? Because he was having help with he was working on McNeese mid-major program, NC State. It's not a mid-major, but it's still not a basketball powerhouse.
He said he was staying at NC State in a press conference. He
was saying that when the season ended.
Yeah, he recommitted to them. So and he signed.
And he was on the phones with the season ticket holders to re-up the season ticket. This guy's a rat. LSU is just filled with rats.
Do you know what this smells like to me in terms of a football perspective? And I'm sorry that we keep bringing it back to football, but I think that's just Daniel and I's bread and butter.
Yeah.
But Hugh Freeze going back to Auburn, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Right now, I don't feel the same sense of that, but I'm on that path. I'm almost like LSU, like, what? Like you can't. Their season is barely done. They can't scour the national landscape a little bit longer and then try to find somebody else. I get that they know who he is, and maybe they can look at that and say, well, we know him, we know his situation, we know he can come in and coach and play good LSU basketball. And it's like, but the guy's got baggage. Why are we taking this on again? If we can go out and potentially find somebody who's going to take what Will Wade built from 2019 to 2022 and take that to the next level and consistently compete in the SEC.
With me, this is what I always think. So he's not a fresh voice in the locker room or in the athletic department, Will Wade, because he's been there before.
The players he is, though.
Yeah. To the players he is. What I always think is people with baggage and history at your school and at your program like this should not be allowed to come back in. And he's allowed to come back in. I think he's a tremendous basketball-minded coach. Some other issues, he's just a screwball, like I said earlier. This is actually a great rehire for LSU because in 2022 or 2019 or something, whenever he got fired, they had to fire him, right? Like they had to fire you. And then now there's an opportunity for him to come back. And then they're going to come, and then obviously he's going to take that. What I just don't really like is if I had a kid that's going to get recruited by LSU, and you just know the history of sellouts over there, and not going to your word to fan bases and all that, how can you trust coaches? If I had my kid go to LSU, first that'd be awesome, D1 kid. But if I had a kid going to LSU, I would be like, okay, you're not going to LSU. These guys are complete sellouts. They'll say anything in this world. Because he, like you said, he's just saying to NC State that he was saying he recommitted to a whole entire program, to a whole entire fan base.
Yeah.
And then, nope, boys, fellas, lads, ladies, and gentlemen, I'm leaving to go back to LSU, to Louisiana State University, where I got fired because I was an idiot.
But we kind of see this we're seeing this lately in college basketball too. Like I remember Kevin Willard last year controversially left Maryland after they exited the NCAA tournament, and now he's obviously the head coach at Villanova.
Yeah.
Got bounced embarrassingly as well. So I guess what goes around comes around. But what worries me is just this what seems to be a wider trend of these coaches, like very suddenly and without too much regard for their pre-existing job, to just jump ship to the next opportunity. And that's not their fault. That's not the coach's fault. It's not their decision. It's not their job to fix the system, but somebody's got to fix the system.
Someone's you have a contract cemented in, you can't break the contract. How about that? Like imagine you sign a player to a 2-year deal. They can't just get up and leave one day. They have they either have to ask you to get traded, or or you do a Brandon Ayuk and just, go off the rails and not show up. But if you really want to play the sports, you have to be locked in for 2 years. Unless there was a bio clause. I don't know the issues, but we got to move on to Hubert Davis. Hubert Davis fired from University of North Carolina. Tar Heel fans are absolutely pumped up after, like we were talking about it earlier this week, about Davis and what's the conversations to be held now. Well, they had the conversations, and well, he's gone. He's out of there. He's out of Carolina. I just don't know how Williams feels about this, because that was kind of his, the guy that he appointed him basically. And now he is fired. Don't know what the idea is now. Who's going to be next as the head coach of the Tar Heels? I could see it, like you said. You had a great point earlier this week about like they're going to do an internal hiring. I think so too. But what we've seen is if you want to take your coach or take your program to the next level, I think they're going to go and poach somebody from another program, at least approach somebody another program. And I've been seeing this a lot, and I don't see it happening, but I think it's an interesting name that's being thrown around. It's Todd Golden. The chances of that happening, I want to say, is 1%, but I find that a little interesting over a lot of people, a lot of social medias, and a lot of even like MSN wrote an article about it. I saw. I don't know how really like they were just saying top 5 perfect fits for UNC, and the idea of them approaching Todd Golden, and then Yahoo Sports and ESPN wrote an article about it with their type of insights. That's not the worst idea, but who do you think could replace Hubert Davis, or do you still think it's going to be internal?
I actually know it's not going to be internal. I did a lot of reading about this now, and it turns out we're wrong, which means I was wrong because I completely brought this up.
Why, did they fire the whole staff?
No, they didn't fire the whole staff, but they definitively came out and said, as per sources, that they were going to look for an outside hire. For the first time in 70 years, the University of North Carolina, this is huge. The University of North Carolina, excuse me, is going to explore an outside candidate for their basketball team, their men's basketball team, for the first time in 7 decades. And I don't think Roy Williams is too upset about it, just because I think he, above all else, I believe he's a North Carolina guy and he wants what's best for the university. And by all accounts, Hubert Davis is an extremely classy individual. He took his firing the right way. He's not the type to badmouth a school that lets go of him. And he came in and he tried. He had a 125-54 record in 5 seasons. We know he made the national title game in 2022. Obviously, they lost to Bill Self's Kansas, but the Tar Heels are the Tar Heels. They got 6 national titles. Like, we don't expect them to bow out in the round of 32 for 2 years in a row. So Hubert Davis had to go. I have 3 candidates that I believe could be the next head coach of the Tar Heels, and Todd Golden is not one of them.
Yeah, that's like a 1% chance, but his name has been linked. Have you seen that also? Have you been seeing that?
Yeah, I did, but then I read that apparently Todd Golden and Nate Oates, who were the 2 big name candidates that initially were brought forward, UNC wasn't looking at them any further. So
perfect. That's perfect. I like him. I'd rather have him stay in Florida.
So the 3 ones I have are currently head coach of the Chicago Bulls, Billy Donovan, who we do know has college experience. He coached Florida. I have Dusty May, the current head coach of Michigan, which is very unlikely. That's the long shot. And then arguably the most likely one, which could happen, going to be expensive, but man, would it be crazy, is if somehow North Carolina was able to steal Tommy Lloyd away from Arizona.
See, I've heard that he's on the hot board for the UNC job. That would be a tremendous hire if that happens.
That would be tremendous. I also have as another lesser splash hiring candidate, TJ Otzelberger, who's the head coach of Iowa State. Personally, if you can, you go all in for Tommy Lloyd. But I also see a bright side to stealing away Billy Donovan. I don't think Dusty May is leaving Michigan just because Michigan donors can also.
I think he's going to stay for life in Michigan.
I especially a lot depends. And again, folks, like Tommy Lloyd, a lot depends on what happens with his current run with the Arizona Wildcats. So, but depending, yeah, if Dusty May were to go to the Final Four with Michigan, I don't see why he would be inclined to leave the Wolverines. Same with Tommy Lloyd at Arizona, but North Carolina has more money than Arizona. They're a bigger basketball brand than Arizona. And if you bring back the dynastic days of consistent national championship contention for the Tar Heels, you're a legend. It's a little hard to pass that up. Michigan, they're kind of trying to do the same thing with Dusty May.
But
there's a lot of money too.
Yeah, but once Michigan, if Michigan wins the national championship in basketball, people are going to forget about it because when football season kicks off, they don't care. But you go to a school like North Carolina, they will remember you for life. Same with Michigan, but at the same time, though, your seasonal, it would be. I would like to say Michigan is more in the shadows of their football program, so whatever success the basketball team has, it's overshadowed by how the football team does. UNC, I think it's a little different. I think UNC is basketball, basketball, basketball. Maybe Bill Belichick could bring another promised land. Doubt it. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. I just don't think the players are good at UNC. But yeah, I think like if let's say he brings a national championship to UNC, he's going to be a statue right in front of the arena.
Yeah, and deservedly so, because if you can usher in those glory days of when the Tar Heels were, and not for nothing, the Tar Heels became the first team since I think '85 when the tournament expanded to be the preseason number 1 seed and then miss the tournament entirely under Hubert Davis. This is a bad era you're in if you're a North Carolina basketball fan. You just bowed out of the route of 32 2 years in a row. You got that hanging on your head. You lost the 2022 national championship, and now you're sitting there, and you can either be glass half full or glass half empty here. Either or, it's just there's a lot of speculation that's going to come about regardless of what side you sit on. I do believe you should be more glass half full with this.
What about Mark Few? If he bows out of Gonzaga.
If he bows out of Gonzaga,
UNC would be a perfect fit for him. I mean, it only came to mind because I was looking at the last episode we just recorded, and we're talking about Gonzaga. I'm literally looking at the video right now. And we're talking about Mark Few, and we don't we don't think he's going to leave, ever get fired. I think he's going to coach there till he retires. But let's say if Gonzaga's athletic department has a different thought, they let him go. You have to splurge on the biggest bag of all time at UNC to go and get Mark Few, right? Like you would have to do that. That would be the consensus number 1 guy on your board.
There's no doubt in my mind there would be just complete and total interest in Mark Few. If that would be bigger than Tommy Lloyd, that would be bigger than Billy Donovan. That would be the biggest thing is if Mark Few, for whatever reason, left the University of Gonzaga. I don't know if it's the University of Gonzaga or Gonzaga University or whatever, but left Gonzaga.
The Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs. Left the Gonzaga Bulldogs and somehow reached the open market. You absolutely have to throw everything at him if you're North Carolina. That is the biggest fish in the sea. And you also be prepared for competing with everybody else in the country for Mark Few's services as your head coach.
You also have to think about too now with Davis is firing. I haven't really read much on it after she got fired. The players now, transfer portal, all of these, you got to make sure you got to see what type of situation you're going into if you're a new coach, or what kind of players you're leaving, what type of players you're on the edge of their seats of staying or leaving, and how you're going to approach this team. Luckily, you only need around 20 guys, maybe 15 guys, not even, you just need 12 guys to make a roster. So you're okay with that, and I think most of them, like depending on the guys that go to the NFL, not the NFL, the NBA, most of them are going to be staying back. Because you already, like, if I'm a player, I'm staying because no matter who UNC hires, it's going to be a tremendous hire for the program. Like, they're not going to go out and make a shocking signing or shocking hiring of some guy that no one's ever heard of. They're going to go to a big profile guy because they want to win a national championship. They have some of the guys right now that can win a national champion, but if they go out of the box, it's going to be an assistant coach on one of these teams. But I don't know, on top of my mind, there's a coach out there that's been a great assistant for I think for a couple of years with, trying to think of the school again. Pretty sure it was on Tom Izzo's staff, a fantastic assistant that might be a hot topic to look out for. That to get his chances of head coaching opportunity, but that's just like these are just like scenarios and stuff like that. Like, it's gonna be a great coaching carousel. I think the coaching carousel starts like officially when, next week or 2 weeks. I think 2 days after the national championship. Everyone, it will be the chaos, college basketball chaos.
It's going to be a lot of news just flying around, and we're probably going to have a pretty jam-packed show that week. If a lot of schools end up letting go of coaches, or coaches end up leaving and going for new opportunities, and we'll definitely have a lot of stuff to talk about. But certainly the University of North Carolina needs a new head basketball coach. That's a damn big thing. That is a damn big news item. And the speculation that's going to come from these candidates is going to be just fascinating to watch over the next couple of weeks. And just watching the tournament, knowing in the back of your mind that some of these coaches, one of these coaches could be the next North Carolina head coach if he plays his cards right with his team. That is going to be another fascinating aspect of the tournament.
I'm absolutely pumped up, but we got to end this show off. But first, what are we watching this weekend? The UFL kicks off this weekend. Tonight it kicks off. The Birmingham Stallions go at it. My St. Louis Battlehawks, too, started their season. MLB is off and running. Toronto Blue Jays play tonight against the Athletics. Kevin Gausman on the mound. A couple hockey games that are good to watch out for as the New York Islanders are on the verge of the playoffs, but they have to go up against the Florida Panthers. The Dallas Stars versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pens are also on the verge of a playoff spot, hoping to lock one down. And then the hot Buffalo Sabres against the Seattle Kraken. That is what I'm watching this weekend, on top of March Madness. As we're recording, one game is about to tip off in the Sweet 16, so I'm going to go watch that soon. And then, but Friday, so tonight, some more Sweet 16 action. March Madness, UFL, MLB, some NHL. Also, Adesanya is fighting on Saturday night. Nick, what are you watching this weekend? There was a lot there.
There's so much going on this week. It's just, honestly, it's nonstop March Madness and baseball. I'll have my eye on baseball. In terms of particular events, the Stars-Penguins game is really catching my eye because the Stars are obviously the second best team in the West. They're one of the best teams in the NHL, and the Penguins are trying to hold on to that wild card spot that they currently employ in the East. And then the other one is Saturday. There's the international break is going on, so there's no domestic soccer for the next month. And therefore, there's a lot of playoffs, which is why we were talking about Italy today, because they staved off World Cup elimination for one final stretch of days until they play Bosnia now on Tuesday. But Canada plays Iceland on Saturday in a friendly. And I'm just interested to see what the lineup looks like in particular with the Canadian national team.
Yeah, I'm pumped up to see how that goes for the Canadian national team. A lot of injuries hitting them at the worst possible time. Well, actually, I would say if the injuries had a hit, it would be right now, because June 12th is when they kick off. Alistair Johnson is also hosting Sports Center. I'm pretty sure I saw that on Twitter today. So that's pretty sweet for TV Canada. But a lot of sports this weekend. Italy, Bosnia on Tuesday. Winner goes to the World Cup. A lot of sports. March Madness is Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and the National Championship is coming up quickly. The NHL playoffs are on the horizon, and the NBA playoffs are on the horizon. Lots of sports. March is great. The Masters start soon, too. But that's Nick Tazio. I'm Daniel Federico, and this has been the Daniel Federico Show. We'll see you guys next week, and we have a great week in store next week. Ciao.
Ciao.